All right, it's a little chilly on the willy today. Holy, I left the heat off in here overnight. Excuse me, I usually leave it on with the door closed, so it's a little warm in here in the morning. But anyway, so past couple days I got screwed up on recording some people's voices, so I will, after I finish my short babble here, then I'll go into some of the emails that I read and a pile of pictures a man sent in earlier, which will be right after I finish talking right now. And then after that ends, I'll resume current time with some more emails, all right? But anyway, quick note, I gotta share this because I know the majority of the people here are more than likely gun owners. Just to give you an idea what's going on up here in Canada, Stan. And how it's no surprise to me, it's very frustrating in a way because the Commonwealth, Ground Zero, London, all the Commonwealth countries are under the choke chain of these bricks. And they're taking the guns away from the people rapidly. Like, rapidly. And I got a notice in my email from the RCMP. I won't read the whole thing, but here's just to give you an idea, all right, of how absolute insane it is here. They keep making guns, different guns, prohibited in Canada. They're rattling them off almost weekly. On March 7th, 2025, the Government of Canada amended the regulations prescribing certain firearms and other weapons, components and parts of weapons, accessories, cartridges, cartridge magazines, ammunition, and projectiles as prohibited or restricted, commonly referred to as the classification regulations. This is straight from the RCMP. The amendments have the effect of reclassifying certain named firearms and their variants as prohibited. The details of the detailed list of the 179 unique makes and models of the newly prohibited firearms can be found at Government of Canada prohibits additional assault-style firearms. That's a link. This is in addition to firearms prohibited on December 5th, 2024 and May 1st, 2020. As the holder of a valid firearms license, you are being contacted by the Canadian Firearms Program as you may be in possession of one of these firearms. And then it just goes on and on. So cringe. So cringe. I wonder if these criminals have contacted the actual street criminals to let them know that their guns are prohibited. I hope so. Pretty bad, isn't it? Isn't it ridiculous? They said, I thought a screenshot's a screenshot. I'm not going to open up my inbox, my email, but they also said that these guns are not suitable for hunting and not safe for civilian use. Is that amazing? They're very safe for hunting and they're very safe for civilian use. They're just not safe for corrupt criminals in a government position. That's the only thing going on. But I wonder what's coming. You know what I mean? Like it's getting worse and worse and worse here on this land. I'm not even calling it a country. It's almost going to call it a detention center at this point of the game. Not really a country up here. Beautiful land, great people, but it's rapidly becoming basically a detention center, right? Slave labor place. Brutal, right? Very, very. Imagine how frustrating it is. But then again, here I'm snibbling about that. You imagine how frustrating it must be to have somebody getting their home blown up. They didn't do anything. They just want to go farm and live and do whatever they're doing, right? It's a bunch of frustrating shit happening around the planet. It's very, very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. Some people might think, yay, Trudeau got kicked down. Wait, a lot of people said, how do you feel about the new leader in Canada? He's 10 times worse than his little nephew that was the puppet. This guy's one of the string pullers. And he also has 3 passports for 3 different countries. And he is right very high up the WEF. So just so you know, Canada has been in for it the last 8 or whatever years. Now we're really in for it. That's a fact. Moving along. Anyway, there you go. For the curious. Just to give you another little tidbit of what's going on up here in the hostage land from these globalist sons-o bitches. Now, carrying on. Listen to this. Now, this first email I'm going to share today on this rainy frickin' day. I guess it's Saturday right now, so you'll be watching this early Sunday morning. Some of you. This is titled A Different Color. Donna L. Dotson Hi, Steve. I have a story that's different from other ones. Way different. It says I'm 7 years old, but I think you did a typo, so we're going to guess 70. When I was a little girl, 7 years old, my twin sister and I went to play with the little girl next door. Okay, I think she meant she was 7 years old, not 70. This was in Fallon, Nevada, United States. There's a lot of snow on the ground and we were playing hide and go seek. So let's go. I was looking for a place to hide and I saw a large snow drift. So I ran over to it, went around the other side of it, and when I was there, I looked up and I saw a white Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And all of a sudden, her eyes locked in a staring way. I was not afraid at all. I just stared. And it just stared at me. It had kind of brownish orange eyes, a brown nose, and white long hair. I knew it was a good one because I had to look. Oh, I think she meant I knew it was a big one because I had to look up at it. I never told my story only to a few people. But the reason why not saying anything, I really didn't know what to say. I was just a little girl. And the Bigfoot not moving, it just stared, did not scare me at all. But how would I convince people that? At the time, this is back in the 60s, and I really didn't know anything about Bigfoot. But now I'm thinking about the white buffalo born. Why couldn't a white Sasquatch be born? I have some really deep spiritual miracle stories I'd like to tell you also, if you're interested. I like your show. I like the stories. God bless you, and thank you. And thank you too, Donna. I hope it didn't take too long to find your email, but I found it and we got it shared. And not the first person to share a white-haired being. There's one on video too, right? That one in Pennsylvania, I think. I think Thunker did a thing on that and deemed it as legitimate. It looked legit to me. Now this next email has a pile of photos. Let's read what he has to say. Wind? Question mark? Coincidence? Question mark? No way. Big XTP frame. Bent trees. Ends wedged in. Not natural. Tree and rooted wedged. Natural? No. Look at the spacing here. The design. Not natural. X and TP again. Okay, this is all photo descriptions. And obviously I haven't loaded the photos yet. I will in a second. Stacked trees. 2 X's and leaners. A stacked tree bridge at 9,500 feet. Crazy. Stacked trees, X's all over. See the bend? Flipped V at center. Monster X saying we're here, our territory. Snapped tree. Another permanent TP. Look at the U. Both ends in the ground. Building a TP. A marker of some kind. Stacked trees, not natural. Leaners and trees don't bend like that. And here's another Bob Bigfoot encounter pic. See it? Here it is highlighted. See the face? And I agree with you. The mystery isn't that these things exist. It's why it's being covered up. As are giant excavated skeletons the Museum of Natural History is hiding from the public. Question is why? What are the reasons behind it? The secrecy is pissing me off. Come spring, the truth is coming out and will not get covered up. Take care, Steve. And there you go, you guys. How's that for a collection of photographs? Whoa. Wow. And then he's got another email here. Let me mark this as red. We've both only seen the structures. They seem to build, tear down, rearrange their structures. It's crazy. Steve, look for their tree X's. Then look the area over. Look for the leaners also. What they're doing with the trees is some kind of language. And I agree with, let's call him Bob, haha, on that. His encounters are 2 valleys over. He has discovered graves too. And we are protective of the exact locations. They're all over the state of Colorado. Bob is going to join me in using ground penetrating radar on the graves. I think it would be safe to do. Then, maybe dig into one later. Huh. At that time, those eyes glowing were freaky. Just don't look for the tree X, whether it's natural or not. Think not. You'll see, some things just can't happen by chance like that. Okay, so the red eyes. So there must have been another email in here. Yep, here's another one. All right, hold on a minute. Hold on a sec. Third email. Obviously, they're not in order. Oops. Bigfoot tracking. Hi, Steve. I bought the tracking device you suggested. Received a lot of snow. Trip to the mountains canceled. How I got started. I went down to Palatoro Reservoir to camp and fish. First morning, ate breakfast and decided to go exploring. Higher up from camp, I found some nice little lakes. While there, my eyes kept being drawn to this stand of young trees. Notice pictures 3 and 4. I finally went up to them. What wasn't right to me was the broken tree trunk. Sure, a bear could do it, but there wasn't a treetop to be found anywhere to be found. I could also tell something had walked through and down along this stream toward my camp a half-mile away. The sap told me the break was recent, but notice how cleanly broke. It's not cut, and the nearest people camping were 2.5 miles away and down the mountain. I was alone where I was. Anyway, circled that tree 10 feet at a time to 200 yards out, and I never found that treetop. If not a human, there's only one other thing I know of that could have carried off the top. This tree branch below, meaning below the picture below, is about 6 inches in diameter. The end is broken off and like that above was gone. It was also broken at the top. If you can enlarge the picture, follow the bark. Something very strong twisted that limb. It was during this outing I had my first encounter with 3 Bigfoot and recorded the vocals. This is what I call tree perches, Steve. They are observation posts, lookouts, and possibly ambush sites. The picture below has what I call a bunch of leaners, all gathering to a point. And in the distance lower left, another leaner where you enter. Note the following pic, but bigger, same thing. This picture's amazing. Big tree leaning left to the right was rammed into from below into the pine limbs at the far right. The base of this tree trunk was broken, but the base itself with roots in the ground wasn't anywhere to be found. It was carried off somewhere. There's 2 leaners also in each side that met up at a point with another existing tree. Perfect hiding spot. Below is a creek. From the perch point, one can observe the field sloping down from the tree line of opposite foothill. Any deer coming down to the creek for water are under observation. These things can easily drop down onto their prey and snap their neck. I say this since following the tree structures, they have superhuman strength. Have you noticed anything similar? We'll send more. Be safe. Wow. I'm going to have to do a search for your name in my inbox and see if I can't find where you possibly wrote in about your encounter with 3 of them and recorded the sounds. Holy shit. Alright, well, give me a minute. I'm going to do a search right now, then we can have it all in one big batch. Okay, so I did a search in my inbox, and I think I got like a dozen emails from it. I guess we went back and forth on a couple of them, but I'm going to have to read this right off of my screen, alright? I'll read the first one. Hi, my name's David. First, I love your show. I love the stories. Takes me back in time. Now, a little background. I'm from Austin, Texas, and half Native American. I grew up on a 3,500-acre ranch in the hill country. As a kid, I roamed the woods, creeks, etc. Around 10 and up. Day and night, you'd find me out there. My favorite thing to do was to track animals down. Anyway, when I was 14, 1974, first day of deer season, I was out the door that morning, 3:45. I told my dad and relatives what area I intended to hunt, which was at the southeast corner of our property while they hunted the northwest area. The area I was headed out to was a tree stand inside brush that overlooked this football-sized meadow and was 50 feet below a hill roughly 2,200 feet high to the north. south and east heavy forests, and west scattered trees and brush. I'd sit still until a couple hours after daylight, then take off looking for fresh tracks, and started stalking until I jumped one and nailed it. Hold on. This night was pitch black. One of those nights it's so dark you can't see someone standing 3 feet in front of you. Anyway, I took off on foot in total darkness. I knew every inch of our property. At about 2/3 of the way out there, out of nowhere comes this booming wail/scream. I literally froze, paralyzed in fear. All my senses were heightened. Goosebumps ran over each other all over my body. The only thing that moved had been my thumb sliding off the safety. I was listening so hard for sound of whatever moving that I realized I wasn't breathing but holding my breath. I was real tense. My mind was racing. What the hell was that? I knew all the animals in the area. I'd mimicked coyotes, wolves. I knew the sounds a mountain lion made, but this was different. It sounded close, but was a quarter mile away and worse. It was over in an area that I was headed to. It seemed like an eternity before I decided to turn around and slip off as quick and quietly as possible. If I'd had a flashlight, I wouldn't have turned it on. No way. Later that morning, my dad and relatives found me at our hunting cabin. They were surprised to see me there because of how I'd hunt. They kept asking me questions, but I wouldn't say answer. Knew they wouldn't believe me and just tease me. Later on, while chopping wood, my grandpa came out and asked me again. So reluctantly, I told him. He left, and a couple minutes later, he returned with my dad and said, "Get in the truck." He went to the stand. We went to the stand, and my dad said, "You're the tracker. Take a look around." At first, I couldn't find anything. There was 20,000 acres unspoiled forest land east and south of that meadow adjoining our property. I decided to go into those east woods. 100 feet inside the tree line ran a creek. I intended to walk each direction along the bank and see what tracks could be found. A few minutes later, we found 16.5-inch tracks. Easy 5-foot stride. My dad and grandfather decided to go to town 45 miles away to get something to make casts, but a storm blew in before they returned. A year later, my cousin and I went to a movie, the Patterson-Gimlin film, which showed the female Bigfoot, and during the movie they played a vocal of one taped in Oregon. It was the same as the one I'd heard that morning, and I could still feel the fear, but now I at least knew what it was. Since then, I wanted to know all I could about them. Yes, I've been made fun of, but like you, I don't give a shit what people think. They're idiots, and even with all the evidence are in denial. You and I think exactly alike. We both think for ourselves. Anyway, I've had several encounters. I have a close-up picture of one, which does look human-like in the face. Now I understand why hunters could have shot one but didn't. I believe them. I found tracks in 1990. I heard one at Yellowstone in 2013. I live in Colorado now, and I have had 5 encounters the last 5 times out. And I'll explain how when I share with you these encounters. I think I may be able to answer your question as to why the secrecy. There's, to me, 3 reasons. Number 1, they're listed under the Endangered Species Act. Big fines and imprisonment if you kill one or transport body out of state. If they admit their existence, land has to be set aside for them with access restricted. Affects the commercial industry. Logging, gas, oil, agriculture, etc. Big income loss, especially to the greedy AH. Number 2, liability issues. Example, tourism. The public would have to educate of what to do and not to do upon an encounter. People are beyond stupid. Oh, look at that cute elk or a moose or bear, and try to get selfies with them. It doesn't always turn out good. Effing morons. You won't see me kissing a cobra, but seriously. In light of 411 missing and through research, the ultimate predator stands on 2 legs, and it's not us. There's evidence. We're on the menu. Whether a rogue or more, that is what's pulled me back into this research and to the public having a right to know. But let's say a kid disappears and never found. Forest Service gets sued by the parents, though they'd lose, and as you can see, there is a liability issue. Easier for people to disappear and cover it up. Number 3, Both number 1 and 2, especially 2, bring this about this issue. Can we cohabitate with them? If these things are from time to time feeding on us, and their existence is admitted by the government, when people disappear in the forest, especially kids, guess who gets the blame? Then public outcry is extermination. The commercial side is the crybaby greedy individuals who want them out of the way to exploit the land for profit. Anyway, sorry I went overboard, but it feels good to get things off my chest with someone who knows the truth. Like you, I believe the Bigfoot community is full of 98% idiots. Like a dog chasing his tail going in circles. They're going about it all the wrong way. I'm interested in sharing 3 of 6 encounters I had since January 2019. 1 really scary, 2 a little scary. I have photos only a few close friends I've shown to. Real close to proving their existence, but afraid it could cost me. We'll explain next time. But as you've stated, you've had that feeling as well. Happy hunting. Wow. Okay. Now, back into my search. Oh, shit, I gotta type in his name again? Hold on a minute. Okay, I'll read the next email, but I gotta get ripping after this. Something just came up, so I'll have to finish this off tomorrow. Hi, Steve. Thanks for getting it back to me so soon. I don't care what people think. I know what I know, as do you. I've been in social gatherings where some scoff while others listen. Those want to know. Those that want to joke, I like to describe things to them and ask thought-provoking questions in front of curious ones. I get them all thinking. Now, I have photos to show along with what I have to say. I'll share my thoughts, and well, they begin to think differently, especially when others say, I've seen things like that, but never paid attention to or never gave it any thought. Then interest grows all around. At least they're thinking. Maybe a little more attentive next time outdoors. I must say, like you, Steve, I agree. When one has an encounter, it's a game changer, you're right. Back in 73 when I was 13, it didn't have too much of an effect on me. During daylight, I continued to feel comfortable in the forest. At night, alone, not so much. Other than that, I was curious, excited, and wanted to see one. Even wanted to catch one. Fast forward, my encounter with 3 on January 1st, 2019 completely changed that. I'll share the whole story with you later, even though I still go into these mountains without a gun, very stupid, and even dumber, without anyone knowing where. Even though I keep saying I won't do any more, I keep doing it, despite feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, who does that sound like? I do that shit all the time. You're right. You enter with your senses on high alert. It's not as relaxing because you're tense. For me, I'm paying more attention to shadows, listening intently and taking note of my surroundings for things, signs, not normal. They may seem normal, but they aren't. And since January, I don't feel comfortable anymore. There's a constant uneasy feeling. There's no way I'd camp in a tent alone in the backcountry. A trailer maybe, but not a tent. Tip my hat to you. I've done so many a time in the past, never was harmed, but now, just thinking about it makes me uneasy, especially since my latest encounter. Oh my God, what I can't shake off is the fact is I've never heard or saw this thing, forest being, that was within 100 feet of me, but caught it on camera looking at me. When I share the story, I'll share the photo as well. Actually, you have 2 on photos. You might say we were all caught by surprise. And I'll say this. You stated it's not a primate. Before, I'd have disagreed. But now, when hunters say they couldn't shoot it because it looked human, I understand now fully. Dr. Ketchum's DNA results, I didn't believe. Primate/human. The face does look human to a degree, but I think there's primate in some form of human DNA, just not literally. And I say this because a species cannot breed outside their species. Stalin and Hitler tried to breed apes and humans to create super soldiers. All attempts failed. Why? Because humans and primates are separate species. Evolution is a joke. As for the Nephilim, they drowned/perished along with the wickeder society of the time. Giant skeletons have been unearthed, proving that but who's to say that God didn't create some animal similar to us, maybe even using a little of our DNA? He created all things, right? One thing I can say, looking at this picture, it's an animal and a highly intelligent one. Especially since I know they bury their dead, they mark those graves, care for and protect them. which is why that one was so close to me. I can prove their existence once and for all. Before I go, have you seen the structures like this, found by accident 9,500 feet? This one's permanent, not like others I've discovered. Have any of the First Nations seen one? I'm curious to know. Also, please do not mention the graves. That has to be kept under wraps for now. I know you understand. I'm telling you because I feel we're a lot alike. Question, when you were learning their habits, did you investigate what all the things they were doing with trees? That's how I'm having encounters with them. By trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together and understand. Many I've figured out, others not a clue. I'll share the pics and my thoughts about them another time. Would like your thoughts in return. Oh, all right. There we go. All right. Now, here we are. It is now, what is it today? It's Monday the 17th of March. I couldn't go steelhead fishing this morning. Too much stuff to do before the big boss gets here. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Now, who do we got? We got a lot. As usual, a lot of people to be heard. A lot of people to be heard. Let's read this one. Shall we get started? Oops. Red eyes, and I was 13, North Carolina mountains. I'll set the scene for you. North Carolina mountains, 5 guys on 4-wheelers. Since I was the youngest, I was doubling with my brother's friend. I was 13 or so, hanging out with my brother and his high school friends, camping. It was a cool fall night, and we got no punctuation. I'll try to make it smooth. Excuse me. I was 13 or so, hanging out with my brother and his high school friends, camping. It was a cool fall night, and we got bored at the campsite and decided to go ride around and spotlight deer and just see what we could see, even though we didn't have a gun. We ride through one tree field and see nothing, and continue on the path to a small patch of trees on a pretty steep hill on the side of the mountain. They shined the lights, and standing at the top of the patch of trees were 2 bright red eyes, which in that moment we thought may have been maybe someone parked a 4-wheeler there, and it was just our lights reflecting off the brake lights. Excuse me, until it blinked. The eyes were over a foot or 2 over the trees and were at least 6 feet tall. And like crazy teens, they tore off up the road to see what it was. Nothing was there. Excuse me. And before we even arrived, I have an uneasy feeling because I felt that I had seen a massive black hairy shadow turn and take off. But I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to seem like I was freaking out. When we get there, we see nothing. Where whatever it was standing the trail splits. One goes straight up the mountain, and one goes 50 yards or so and goes down deep into a valley, which is nothing but laurel thickets. After all this, I'm freaked out and I can't sleep, and everyone thinks I'm crazy. After years of not speaking about it, I bring it up to my brother, in which he says he thinks he saw the same thing, but who knows? I believe in these creatures, and I'm sure they exist. I can't say how I know, I just feel their presence. I was an avid hunter at that point, all the way until I was in my early 20s. I'm now 29, and I haven't been hunting in many years. Every single time I go, I feel I'm being watched, and it's terribly bad when I'm walking out after dark. It's almost like I get super bad anxiety. Even hunting with a partner, it gets super bad. I appreciate what you're doing and standing up for the people, and one day, all this will be brought to light. Yes, being rapidly brought to light through everybody here, that's a fact. It's being rapidly brought to light. There's no denying it. It's just trying to get everyone to realize that everybody's on their each and every one of us is on your individual journey, and it's up to you to put the things together for you. Take from things what you need or leave it, and figure it out. And how am I trying to say? I'm trying to say like we have been programmed to look to another human being who we don't even know for the green or red light on any topic, which is absolutely ridiculous. We have it built into us, our sixth sense. You know what I mean? Our intuition, we have it in us. We need to enhance it and find our own answers out. You know what I mean? We got to stop thinking we need somebody or a group of somebodies over there who we don't even know to say, okay, the cat's out of the bag. You're right. You're right. We will confirm that you are correct. These people are existing alongside of us. You see what I mean? There's nobody in that position for me at this stage of the game. Nobody. Nobody. Now, a short one about Sabe eyesight is the next email. Hi everyone, I really enjoyed yesterday's video with the 2 First Nations men and your question about the lack of evidence of consistent hunting got me thinking. Dr. Jack Kruse, a neurosurgeon with a freedom mindset, is teaching that natural sunlight through our eyes and also through our skin actually replaces food to an important extent. It is a master key for healthy functioning of the whole body. Sabe reports say their eyesight is acute, powerful, and that torchlight has seemed to cause pain. I wonder if they are less dependent on eating meat than we might assume. Maybe they get nourishment from sunlight much more easily than we do. Maybe this could partly explain why loads of Sabe activity in one area doesn't necessarily result in wildlife being wiped out. They seem to bust many so-called rules of matter, density, and logic. Maybe that's their whole thing. The thing that defines them. Not being bound by all the limitations we take for granted. Accepting the truth of their existence is somehow embracing a whole next level of reality, and this transforms us. A samurai said, acceptance of the truth is the opposite of fear. Maybe the trick is to accept not only that they exist, not only that reality is multidimensional and vast, but that knowing this connects us to our bigger selves also. Love and appreciation, and a great health to you all, Megan. There you go. The wheels are turning, Megan. You never know. You might be onto something. I haven't a clue. That's the first I've heard of that myself. That somebody else here might have more advanced knowledge on that topic as well, and maybe they'll chime in and throw the ball back and forth. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. One more quick note. Usually I'll during the day I'll have little thoughts that I want to share with everybody. I put them in a little note basket so I don't forget, because I forget shit all the time. But a quick note. Unrelated, sort of. Sarah, just so you guys know, Sarah has somebody very close to her who took the forced injections and hasn't been the same since. Long, drawn-out cough going on forever and ever and ever, nausea, blah, blah, blah. Got him taking ivermectin. Cleared up in 3 days. Just so you know. Just so you know. Take from away, you will leave it. That's the award-winning drug substance that the North American and European governments shut down the population from getting a hold of it and blocked its sales during the pandemic. How frickin' in your face is that? Anyway, moving along. 2 more encounters and NDE is the title of this email. Good morning, Steve. Thank you for being such an anchor for so many people to help them share their experiences without fear of ridicule. Don't ever stop being you. No problem, man. Appreciate the kind words. I won't stop. My name is Thomas, and you have shared my other encounters in Connecticut back in 2022. But I had another encounter in 2023, and my daughter had one in 2024. And I would also like to share a little bit about my NDE back in 2010. So, my encounter was my first face-to-face. I was doing renovations on my house and redoing the flooring. So I was bringing loads of the old hardwood flooring out and throwing them in the dumpster at around 9 p.m. I was trying to hurry up, so I was throwing them in and it was being loud because the dumpster was mostly empty. On my last armful, I turned to the right, facing the far side of my house/garage, instead of the left, to get back to my front door faster. And there I saw a Sabe watching me from 13 feet away. He was ducking down under the roof and overhang of my house, watching me throw flooring into the dumpster. I could see his face and body in the glow of the street light from across the street. I heard his fingernails slide off my gutter as he was standing up and silently walked away. I never felt fear or scared, but I did stand there in awe for a minute that I finally saw one of these people face to face after 16 years of encounters that I can remember. Wow. My daughter's encounter happened in September of last year while we were playing in a huge state park after I picked her up from kindergarten. We had just gotten off the playground and we were running into the field to throw a frisbee. My daughter was only 10 feet away from me as I turned back to look at my son to ask him to come and play, and I hear my daughter gasp and yell, "Daddy!" I just saw my first sabe. She said she saw a very tall and big hairy person standing in an opening in the trees at the edge of the field 200 feet away, and when we looked back, there it was gone. She said its head was blocked by leaves, but she saw its body, arms and legs. I started sharing the truth of sharing the truth of the existence of these people with my kids after they heard me listening to one of your videos at the beginning of 2024. Good for you, man. So now on to my NDE. There is way too much that happened to put into words in an email, but I will share a few really important things I was told and experienced while I was out of my body. So after I died from an allergic reaction to a star fruit while on mushrooms and LSD, I was still standing next to my body looking down at myself. My eyes were open and I was not moving or breathing, and I thought, holy shit, I'm really dead. Once I was no longer in my body, I looked down at myself, and I was an incredible, glowing see-through blue, almost like a low-dimmed neon light. It was amazing. But my energy was still in the shape of my body, and then I realized I still could hear my own thoughts, just like when I was alive. And I could still hear myself talk out loud, but no one else could hear me or see me. Then I started walking away, and it was like I went into my mind and started replaying my life. After you die, your life really flashes before your eyes. And you get to experience all the things you did that were good, but also all the things you did that were bad. You get to relive each moment like you were watching a movie. But then it got really interesting. Not only do you get to see it all again from your perspective, you also are shown how you treated someone else from their perspective. You either get to feel the positive emotion someone felt from your act of love, or the negative emotion from the pain and fear of hurting someone else. So you literally get to see yourself from the person's eyes. You see what they saw and feel how you made them feel from either love or fear. So during this, I was asking questions, and my internal voice would answer me with knowledge I didn't remember knowing. So after reviewing my life, I was told, it's up to you. You can choose to leave this existence and go wherever you want and create and experience anything you want. Or we can stay here to finish what you came here to do. And you can probably guess what I chose. That was Adventure Dog, if you heard that. Excuse me. There is so much more I can share about what happened, but I could fill a book with it all. If you have any questions or want to know more, feel free to reach out. I'd be down to do a video chat to help get more knowledge out to the people. That's why I'm still here. For you, Steve, you can either email me back or message me. Because I have some more puzzle pieces that I was told while I was dead, but a lot of people have a hard time believing them for now. Like we are all God having a human experience, but we forget we are God when we incarnate here to not take away from these lessons we choose to learn while we are here. There are many, many more, but they are easier to talk about and too long to type. Thank you for being you, Steve, and I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope to speak with you soon. Okay, my man. I put you into the look into column to get a hold of for contact. And we'll see if we can get that going down one day. It'll be a very interesting conversation without a doubt. And I've heard that version I've heard that version of knowledge from other people. Very, very, very similar what you just shared here from other people's NDEs that I got into a month back. Very interesting. And there you go, you guys. For all you dirty doers out there, if there's any on this channel, which I kind of don't think, but you've been being mean to people. Guess what? You've been doing some nasty shit. Guess what's coming down the pipe? I'm a firm believer that that is what's possibly coming down the pipe myself. Appreciate that email, man. That's pretty wild. Very wild. So I think this photo may have accompanied that last email. Had that photo in, unless if I'm screwing up right now, somebody correct me. Excuse me, but that was in my photo album on my phone, separate from my notes, which was a bit of a screw up because then I get it lost with exactly which email it goes to. That may have been it. A depiction of our energy in human form is still, right? And here's another one titled Sasquatches of Vancouver Island Part 4. Thanks for reading my stories, Steve. The one was the Ward Lake story, the liver on the stump, and me bow hunting in a tree stand. Oh yeah, I remember that. Nanosecond Bay. That's just up the road, isn't it? Well, here's one more while I was bow hunting in Nanoose Bay. I was walking a deer trail when I hear a shallal moving, and I'm thinking it's a big buck. So I thought I'd try to push it up on the bluffs so I could get a shot. And as I pushed it through the shallal, there's a bunch of typos, it went down into a big gully. I went above it to see it, but the shallal was so high to see anything. I sat for a few minutes waiting, but nothing. So I got up and walked over the hill, and just then I heard this thing stand up in the shallal, and it sounded like a truck plowing through the trees. So I ran over there and went in there, and I found a 2-point buck head sitting on a log. Then there was a pile of shit, and it was a foot high and 4 inches around. I got out of there. I was freaked out. Thanks for reading my story, Steve. Yes, my name is Leon Poirier. P.S. That buck you got with your bow 2 years ago is awesome. Okay, man, appreciate that. In a new space, some people might scoff at that, but Rathtrevor Park is on the same side of the highway, just up, a little further along. And that's where a lot of stuff's going on still right now. Crazy. Keep me posted, man. Sounds like they know you know, obviously. All right. Here is another one. There's no title on this. My name is Daryl. I live in central North Carolina. However, I was raised in Pennsylvania. I want to just fixed my mic, by the way. I don't know how, but the input level got switched on the computer. Haven't a clue. Should be better now. Sorry, my name is Daryl. I live in central North Carolina. However, I was raised in Pennsylvania. I'm now 50 years old and have always, for some strange reason, been a magnet for supernatural activities. I've had multiple UFO sightings, with the most memorable one is documented with MUFON, multiple Sasquatch experiences, and I have seen a few other things that I still can't explain. I've always been an avid outdoorsman, enjoying hunting, hiking, camping, and practicing my survival skills. I don't keep my experiences a secret, but folks who will listen just put up with me, and I think that I'm that crazy guy that spends too much time in the woods. My first experience with these beings was at 13 years old. I was bow hunting with my father in a very secluded area in central Pennsylvania. We called this area the Land of the Lost because the landscape looked as if a dinosaur should appear at any time. We were after a large 12-point buck that had been seen there. The day had come and gone with only a few irritating squirrels keeping me company. And as darkness settled in, I could hear Dad's footsteps coming towards me as I descended the tree in my climbing stand. On the ground, our conversation of the day's hunt was interrupted by a disturbance in the brush about 30 yards away. We both took a knee. As Dad said, quote, "I bet it's that 12 point coming through," end quote. I remember responding that it must have rolled in something dead as we were downwind, and the air definitely had filled with a nasty smell. He then handed me his extra flashlight and said, "When it gets closer, let's hit it with the flashlight so we can see what it is." It was only 10 feet away. When we hit the lights, what we saw was no deer. It was a human-like figure approximately 8 to 9 feet tall, covered in matted brownish hair. The flashlight spooked it, and I could clearly see its hands and arms swing as it spun around on his heel and took off running in the darkness. We could hear it crashing through the woods, and I remember its footsteps in the dry leaves sounded just like a person running through the woods, but with some incredibly long strides. I did not see his face, but I believe my dad did, because when I asked him what the hell was that, he did not comment and looked as though he had just seen a ghost. The ride home that night was quiet, as he did not say a word, obviously trying to comprehend what he just saw. And as for me, it just fueled my curiosity. And to date, that was the only time I ever saw one. I don't make it a point to go looking for them, however, I can feel when they're around me while hiking and camping. Recently, I've been spending time in the Uwharrie, I think I've had that pronunciation emailed a million times, Uwharrie forests here in North Carolina. The knocking on the trees, the musky scent, and on 3 separate occasions they threw small stones at me while in camp, the most recent being a camping trip in the summer of 2019. I never once felt threatened by them. My feeling is more one of playfulness, or perhaps they want to communicate with me, so I talk to them when they're near. They never stay long, maybe 20 minutes at most, then they disappear. My last 2 encounters were accompanied by a yellowish glowing light in the distance. That's the first I had ever seen this, so I'd be curious to know if anyone else has noticed a yellowish glow with these beings when these beings are around. My belief is they can teleport, perhaps through natural portals as a way of traveling. I also think that once a person runs into one, somehow their energies unite and they always know where you are after that. It may explain multiple experiences in different locations. I know that sounds woo-woo, but then it's just a theory. I could tell stories for the next hour or so, but I'll end it here. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Thank you, man, for writing in. Thanks for writing in. All right. Here we go. One more. More from a lifetime of encounters is the title of this email. Hi, Steve. My name is Carrie. I shared my first initial encounter of 5-year-old me on the other side of a glass door from a big hairy monster. Extreme things usually only happen once, and you're done for life. For many people, that's how it goes, but my life has shown me that I'm different. Haha. A couple years after my parents had divorced, I went to live with my mom in Texas. We were living with her boyfriend out in the country, north of Fort Worth, Texas, and we would often go visit with his sisters and their families. One of his sisters lived on lakefront property on Lake Azle, A-Z-L-E. I think that's the name. The adults had planned to go out, and I was the oldest child, 11 or 12 years old. The other kids were not much younger than me, maybe a year or two. It was the early 80s, so that was totally normal at the time to leave an older child to babysit the younger kids. Weird noises started, which I was oblivious to, but the older of the 2 younger boys started to talk about some kind of monster. I didn't really understand Bigfoot at the time, despite my own earlier encounter, and I certainly didn't correlate the monster by the name he had given us, as he had given us Bigfoot. I certainly wish I could remember the name he'd used. I don't really remember all the details from that night, but the kids were getting more and more agitated and scared. I thought it couldn't be possible. I walked over to a window and ripped the curtain back, and got the scare of a lifetime for the second time. Thankfully, I didn't pee this time. There on the other side of the window was a Bigfoot, and it looked shocked. I was shook. I have no idea how long I stood there staring face to face, probably seconds, but it felt like minutes. I believe the one kid that was so knowledgeable that was so knowledgeable about the monster saw it too. He might have been standing right there. I know that we very quickly went around the huge house and checked that every door and window was locked and curtains were drawn tight, and every light in the house was on. When the adults came home, I got in trouble for all the lights being on. The adults were doubtful of me, but all of us told the same story. The sister who owned that house didn't like me much after that. The conversation got drug out over several months, and at one point the adults said that a gorilla had been reported to have been escaped at Fort Worth Zoo. But, though that is nearby, in a car, I can't imagine a gorilla traveling that far. Then back again to the neighborhood it was recaptured in. In my mind, it was brown. Gorillas are usually black, but all the other details could have clicked. But the window was a great distance from the ground. The one boy's father said to the sister that was mad at me, an 8-foot tall gorilla? But the sarcasm was lost on me. What I saw in Colorado had a face full of hair, with strands that were long, and it had many colors like the silver you see on lodgepole pines. A rusty brown black. Its mouth, skin, seemed dark-colored gray or black. Very long hair all over it. This one in Texas had much shorter hair, and the face was bare, dark skin. The eyes were dark, brown or rusty-colored. More of a nose than a gorilla, but flatter than a human's. The mouth popped open and the eyes wide. It looked shocked, like it didn't expect anyone to open the curtains and look out. At that point in my life, I'd kind of forgotten about the first one. I still remembered it, but the two things didn't seem the same. I don't think I realized it was a Bigfoot, or would have been assumed to be a Bigfoot at the time. Maybe because the second one didn't have a menacing feeling. My mom reminds me of that encounter once in a while. We laugh about it because it's her ex-boyfriend's family. I've always wondered what happened to that one boy, what he knew about them, and if he went on to learn more. I certainly did. But one thing is certain to this day, I've not been able to rip the curtains back at night to look outside. Ha ha. Deeply ingrained fear unlocked for me at my second encounter. There are many more to come. I've not gone more than 5-ish years without having a sighting or encounter in my life, no matter the state, the company, or the conditions. Coming up, size-changing cats, my first probable dogman experience, and more about Bigfoot, even an orb encounter. Anyway, ta-ta for now, Carrie. There you go. How many times have they looked in the window of a house, especially at kids? It's kind of creepy. Very creepy. 5 years, huh? Yeah, I seem to have yearly, don't I? Probably. I don't know. Yearly or every 6 months? I haven't a clue. I don't keep track of shit myself. But anyway, I got to get ripping. I got a lot of stuff to do before the boss comes back. So, you got new knowledge to share with the people. You need to get it out. Share my story at howtohunt.com. All right? That's where you get it out. Then what else? Quick note. A little bit of a talk. No more emails for all those who get annoyed when I speak. When people... I noticed one thing when a lot of people... It doesn't matter what the statements are, the comment or the topic at hand, but one thing that kind of irks me in a way, but makes me react, I guess, when people say, yeah, well, do you got any more proof? Can you show me the proof? Got proof that backs that up? And my initial reply to those who sit on their butts is I almost want to say, well, get off your flat, fat ass and dig for yourself if you have an honest interest in the topic you're needing proof. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing more for me that shows me somebody being absolutely lazy and just wasting time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to picture myself sitting right here and somebody sharing something with me, and I just sit here like a lazy fat ass and go, well, you got any more proof? It's kind of funny. Am I making sense? I hope I am. There's just one thing that's kind of makes me go, well, if you need proof of anything, get off your fat, flat ass and go get it. Why do I say flat? Because it's from sitting on it too much, doing nothing. But there you go. I thought I'd share that, you know? when people engage, and it doesn't matter what the topic or what's shared or what's being talked about. Well, I need more proof. Maybe you should go get it. Because obviously if I tell you something or somebody else tells you something, it ain't going to do shit for your peanut head anyway. So if you have an honest hunger for knowledge in any department, any topic, go get it. Right? I think that should possibly be a universal answer to people who say, I need more proof. Go get it.